Brian from the Disability Digest here. This is part two of a conversation that we had here at the Disability Digest with our advocate team about does it matter where you live? And this segment we're going to talk specifically about for those of you that are approved for disability benefits, receiving disability benefits. Does it matter where you live? For benefit options, are they different in different areas? For housing options, can you live outside of the United States in an affordable area as an expat and still keep your disability benefits? What are the work options and income options? Are they different in different areas? So I hope you enjoy the conversation, and I hope it helps you understand how you can maximize your disability benefits. Thanks. And I know, Daphne, we were in a meeting yesterday with an individual that had, indicated why he moved, cost of living, from Jersey to North Carolina. But um, what what are some of the considerations for people that are approved for disability to maximize their benefits, or does it make a difference where you live? Um,
Yes, it does. I live in right above Miami, maybe 2.5 miles from Miami. I'm in Broward County.
mhm.
If I were to cross over and live in Miami-Dade, my plans that would be available for me would be so much more lucrative than what Broward County has.
Okay. Okay. Um, and when you say more lucrative, can you put like an estimated dollar figure on that per year?
Yes, like in Broward County, with my plan, it's like 40 to $45 to see a specialist. And
Yep.
the plans in Miami-Dade, it would be about $15, $20 to see a specialist.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep.
So when you look at things like that, and then a lot of times they have benefits. They have some benefits that we don't have in Broward County. They have them in plans that are
Mm-hmm.
in Miami-Dade.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the OTC credits, they get a lot more OTC credits in their plans. Um, they get there is a program called PERS that most of the plans have where you have this little thing around your neck. If anything happens to you, you can push that, you get it for free, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of other benefits that if I were to just to move 2.5 miles into Miami-Dade, I would be able to get.
Wow. Interesting.
You're also still dealing with the medical factor. I don't know how all this fits together because I'm new, but you also, because you don't get the Medicare until 2 years
Yep.
from your start date. So those people, even though they're accepted, they still have to have insurance or figure out what they're going to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I'm sorry, Brian, but I need to go back because you had put up a question from somebody on whether it makes a difference where you live. And that person was saying they're moving out of the country.
Yeah, we're going to
And,
come up to that in a minute.
oh, okay, because we didn't answer that part, and I am curious about that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to come up to that. So
Okay.
we've talked about the benefits, like, Dimitri in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you were to go to another area or a rural area of South Carolina, I mean, that would be expensive for you from a benefit perspective, for sure. And I, my hunch is, my take is it's driven by competition and population density. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to live in a very rural environment, then you might have a lower cost of living, but your cost of care and options are going to be offset by that as a general rule. So that's something to keep in mind. Um, let's talk about housing. Right? Housing is a big issue for our members. And, right now, I don't even know if you can find a house anywhere at the time of this recording. I don't know who's buying them or what's going on, but it's crazy.
It's very
Um,
difficult.
very difficult.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah, I
So
mean,
it's a seller's market out there now.
right on,
Mhm.
right on. And for housing, you know, does anybody have an opinion on what the considerations would be? There's the obvious, if you're going to live in, a high-priced real estate market, it's going to be difficult, but is it just that simple, or is there any other considerations?
Public housing availability is a
Mm-hmm.
huge issue. Some places have long waiting lists to get onto public housing.
Mm-hmm.
Some don't. Depends on where you live, and also your family composition, whether you're disabled, puts you up on the list as far as getting public housing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So there's
Mm-hmm.
lots of variables for that.
I think if you
Is
live more in a rural place too, you're going to find a more housing availability for housing than you would in the more densely populated places.
are you
Well,
saying more?
It's going to be less housing in the densely populated.
Yes. Yes.
But more programs, I think, like you were saying before, the density at the competition area, even for housing, you have more programs that might help a client be able to get housing,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, because our affordable housing here is they give apparently a big tax break, and we call them 80-20 buildings, where 80 is market rate and 20% is affordable housing, which may
Oh,
go up to
interesting.
an income of $200,000 or more. So, it's still on a scale.
Okay.
there's
Okay.
also different types of housing. There's Section 8, there's FFA 515. Some of them are based where you can, Section 8, where you can find a house, and if the landlord is willing to take housing assistance.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like what he just mentioned, where people that build the housing, they get a tax break for having so much low income available.
Yep.
There's 20 different types of programs and housing programs.
Sorry to interrupt, but my
Mhm.
question is housing related programs driven by the climate in a state, whether they're a red
Yeah.
state or a blue state, or programs, or anybody have an opinion on that?
I'm not saying red state or blue state. I'm saying as far as here in Miami and the Broward County area, we're getting packed fast, and it's
Mm-hmm.
because of the climate that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 I'm thinking this through. If there is an area that's densely populated that is affordable, and somebody was looking to move, that could be the odds-on favorite to do some research, rather than try to get into New York City or Miami. If they look at Des Moines, Iowa, maybe there's a section of that city that would be, worthy of it. I know when this is not disability related, but when I was living in Montreal with my son, we lived in the ghetto, which was a great experience. It was super affordable and it wasn't that bad. And there was a lot of affordable housing in that area for places that were the equivalent of $300 to $400 a month US. Now, that's heavily subsidized because it's another country, but I expect that something like that, hopefully could be found
Was
for
it a
people.
decent ghetto or bad ghetto?
Yeah, it was. It was right on the. It was being revitalized.
I love Montreal.
Yeah, yeah.
One of my
So
favorite cities.
yeah, yeah, me too.
But
So
there's a catch-22. You have more people in the city that might make it harder. You have less people rural, but there's also not going to be as much available because it's rural.
right.
So you're kind of, I used to say in North Dakota, there was tons of empty farmhouses that after a year or two of sitting empty, are destroyed. And I always thought, boy, I wonder if people would just move here and just live in those houses that don't have homes. Of course, they don't
Yeah.
want to live where it's 40 below in the middle of nowhere, but it's like, I don't know. And in California now, they've built these cities. They're like, I don't know, 10 by 20
Many houses around
mini
here.
houses. Yeah. Yeah. That they've just built.
Hmm.
Um,
And in California and other areas like that, you have access to transportation.
well, not really.
No.
No, California is really bad. Our
So
public
there,
transport is bad.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Um,
They've been working on the train from LA to the San Fernando Valley since I was about 20 and I'm
right.
64. So
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. All right. So that's some good input on housing. Let's talk about living outside of the United States if you are approved for your Social Security disability benefits. And first of all, let's maybe tie it back in a little bit. Diane, are you still with us?
Yes.
If somebody wanted to move to the Philippines and be an expat and they're on Social Security disability, and they needed like a 2-bedroom apartment, for example, what do you expect that they would need to pay?
Well, here, rent is actually very affordable if you will convert it to, to US dollars. Here you can
Hmm.
get like 8,000 pesos for a
Yep.
month in rent.
So divide that by 50. Who's going to do the math?
So it's 8,000 divided by 50. That will be $160 a month.
So you could get a 2-bedroom
Whew.
and a nice climate for 160 a month, right?
Yeah.
I'm
So
coming
you,
to the Philippines to
Me
retire.
too.
yeah,
Me too.
160 is usually the 8,000 pesos is usually the rent charge for, you know, highly populated areas like here
what?
in Manila. You can rent for 8,000 for 2 bedrooms.
Okay, great. Then you have, utilities and all that, but I don't expect it's a game changer. So then somebody moves into a nice 2-bedroom flat and they have, this great cost of living, but then what happens with their Medicare?
It's a, it's mostly non-existent, I think.
Right. Well, I know for Medicare Advantage plans, they definitely are not available because it would be outside of the service area of any plan because it's outside of a 100-mile radius. So that would create some challenges with the healthcare piece. Somebody would need to find a way to get
Have
their healthcare
insurance.
taken care of. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I know someone who's looking to live outside of the United States, and it's a big issue for them because they are on disability, so they do have medical problems, and being able to find in some places affordable health care or be entitled to it is very difficult, and it's a big consideration to where they're moving.
Right.
I've heard the conversation has been Italy, that it's been Spain. Now we're in Portugal, which seems to be the better of those 3 places, but it's very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you move across the border to Mexico, which Philip has a member that has done that, you still, if you have an address outside of the U.S., that still causes some challenges. So that's a piece that people need to figure out. They need to weigh the difference of getting treatment and what would that be like.
Brian, what some people do, and they live outside of the United States, they just don't let Medicare know they live outside. They have an address here. They
Mm-hmm.
fly in, they get their medical treatment here.
Mm-hmm.
Their medical records are kept up here. and then they
Mm-hmm.
fly back to Jamaica or any other island.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Yep. I am familiar with that strategy, but I don't believe it's legal.
it is not legal.
You're just saying that some people do it. We're
It is
not.
not legal, but it's
Yeah.
convenient.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, you got to make
This
sure if you
is
advise
illegal.
somebody of that, you have a disclaimer so you don't come back on you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I
No,
didn't
I know. Yeah.
I
I
didn't
mean,
tell you this, but some
right.
people do this.
People are doing it. People are doing it. Yeah.
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 So
So,
Brian, what about somebody that's trying to get disability and they started the process and they moved to another country?
yep.
How are they going to meet available for work?
We have worked with somebody through another representative, actually several, because we would send them, and he would represent them. An example would be a military spouse. Somebody was away on duty, so they were able to get treated on a base, but still went through the approval process. That's one example that I can think
Considered
of.
U.S. territory.
This person was in Germany.
The base itself is a territory.
Yeah.
It's considered U.S. territory if they get it done on the base.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
But my question is, they apply for disability and they move outside of the country and they have to show that they can't do any work in the national economy, but they're not here. So how is somebody trying to get disability going to meet that?
I don't know how they would do that.
Well,
At least not.
I don't know the answer to that, and nor do I know if my understanding is that applies if you're going through the process. When you go through the review, if you have a continuing disability review, and for those of you that might be listening to the replay, it's highly likely, then you would need to possibly be faced with that again if you are not being treated and your condition has improved and they deem you to not be disabled. Then yeah, you're going to go back into court, and that would come up again. So I don't know the answer to that. That's if somebody is reviewed.
Can you even apply if you move to another country?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've had people that have done it.
Applied for disability while they live in Colombia?
Well, the example that I have is somebody was on a military base. That's the only one that I can think of. I don't know of others that are living in another country.
I have a feeling they won't do it.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know of anybody that has pulled that off. So, yeah.
The eligibility is entitled to your work history, right?
Yep. Yeah. And I don't, yeah. So unless there's some nuance in the rules. Right. But you could be living in another country and not working below the SGA. But you need to meet the treatment criteria. So how would you meet the treatment criteria?
Well, you could still have the medical records for that, but my concern would be more of if you don't, well, the first issue would be, let's say you're blind and you live in another country and you have a work history here where you qualify.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can see getting approved. But for the person that has to look at their age, education, and work experience, and then not be able to do any work in the national economy, it's going to be hard to do that if you're living in another country. I don't know. It's very
for like a self-reported
that's a
condition,
standard.
like an autoimmune condition type.
Right,
thing.
exactly, where they have to go through everything else.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, those cases in general are more difficult, and they require ongoing treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, if you've lost your legs or you're blind or there's some definitive it's not going to improve situation, that would be different.
How does the ability to work from home, that's now, very prevalent,
Hmm.
affect that? That has to affect your, the consideration of whether there's work for you.
Well, you still have to
Uh,
be able to sit, stand,
yep,
do
Oh,
all
okay.
of it.
yep.
All right. They make it,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. Right, right. And yeah, for sure. Oh, this
Actually,
is,
that's been used as a benefit in some cases because the employer has made a concession, which they
hmm.
normally don't do. So technically, if they're only working at home and they're able to lay down when they need to or whatever, and the employer has let them do that, that's actually in helps them win their case.
Hmm. Yep, yep, for sure. Yeah, I mean, just made me think. Tuesday, I had a lady who had she was able to take a job, go home. She had a sit stand desk. They had a couch. She could take naps. She could do all that, and still get to the point where she couldn't work. So yeah. Um, at any rate, in respect of time, I'm going to wrap this up. This has been wonderful. I thank everybody for your contribution to this. Doesn't matter where you live topic.